News Talk 1090 is the talk of Muskegon.
Welcome. You're listening to the Renegade River Show, and my name is Mike Hewitt. Before we get going with the show today, let me offer you a brief quote. I ask, sir, what is the militia? It is the whole people. To disarm the people is the best and most effectual way to enslave them. That was George Mason. If you don't know who George Mason was, I'll help. He co-authored the Second Amendment. Today, in the studio with me is Mike Bernethy. Mike Bernethy works with the Copper Creek Shooting Academy. Mike, welcome.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
I wanted to see if I could get you, just for everyone listening, Mike has been on the show, but it's been a number of months now. And since you were on before, a lot of things have happened in the firearms world. And I kind of wanted to get you to help bring me up to date and then tell us, maybe start us from the beginning if we could a little bit. Tell me about CPL class. If I were new and just attending your CPL class for the first time, what would I see?
Well, actually, the CPL is a concealed pistol license. A lot of people could call it a concealed carry or a CCW. In Michigan, it's concealed pistol only. We have, I think, over 370,000 concealed carry holders in Michigan now, and more people are joining the ranks every day. If you wanted to get started, basically you sign up for a class. Most of them are NRA based. So you'll be firing about 100 rounds, and you go through a minimum of an 8-hour program. It usually lasts about 8.5 or 9 hours. And you start right from the basics of learning to sight properly, safety. Safety is stressed enormously. We also have a law enforcement agent come in and speak, or defense attorney, to kind of tell you about your legal obligations when carrying concealed.
I understand that in Ottawa County, according to the prosecutor in Ottawa County at least, there were, at the time he cited the number almost a month ago, there were more than 10,000 people with concealed carry permits just in Ottawa County. Does that sound about right?
It does. And believe it or not, Muskegon and Kent and Ottawa counties are probably about the 3 lowest counties out of our 83 counties in Michigan as far as people getting concealed carry permits. I think the incident rate is about, 18% roughly in those 3 counties out of 1,000 of eligible people. In many of the other counties, it's averages in the 40s.
So a person could expect more, for instance, just to pick a county, Genesee County.
Yeah, Genesee County would be up around the 40, 45 out of 1,000.
What do you attribute the difference to? I'm kind of surprised by that.
Honestly, I have absolutely no idea. I know the further north you go, the higher the number of CPLs there are. In the UP, they're all over 100. And when you get to northern Michigan, they're from 50 to 100.
I'm wondering if there's different reasoning for the different regions or geographies. People here in the West Michigan area may feel safer or a lesser need for it. People up north maybe are thinking more hunting and safety from animals. What do you got a speculation?
Well, I think most people don't even realize, the average run-of-the-mill citizen has no idea that these are even available, or they don't ever think about carrying them. They don't have feelings one way or the other. People that are obviously in the gun industry or hunters, outdoorsmen, they're obviously more aware that these things are available. And most of those people already have theirs. The clientele we're seeing now that are coming to Copper Creek every week are people that have little gun experience or possibly no gun experience, in which case we put them through a basic class before we actually get into the regular personal protection in the home class, so that they'll be aware of safety and sighting and things like that. But more and more people are finding out about it and decided that they'd like this because basically they're their own first line of protection, whether they know it or not.
I think I would have guessed before you told me about West Michigan that the concealed carry would have been a higher propensity amongst conservatives than it would be the general popular, just an even swath. But as West Michigan, it tends to be about the most conservative region of Michigan, and yet you're telling me the opposite of what I would have thought. So my question is if you look at a typical class, I don't know how many people are in a typical class, but do you think it's a pretty even mix of conservative and liberal? Is it more Democrat, more Republican? Where do you think your political base leans?
I think right now it cuts just about down the middle. Before it was probably heavy Republican, although there's a lot of union members that vote Democratic, and they traditionally like firearms and are aware of this and have one. But now we are finding a lot of people, just because people are liberal doesn't necessarily mean they don't want to be safe.
Makes sense to me. And let me ask you, when you're looking at professional, the people that are in attendance skipping their ideology, are you seeing more doctors, lawyers, or are you seeing more teachers, or is there any one profession more than the rest that you're seeing?
You're really seeing more women. If you're gonna, get down to a group of people, it used to be we keep really good records on who attends as far as the demographic, and women were about 10%. Now women are averaging about 45%. Every time that there's a tragedy in the country or a shooting or something, of course, the number spikes. But basically people, are slowly coming to grips with the idea that the police job is not to protect and serve, but it's to investigate and serve. So they basically are there to investigate who killed you.
Right. They're there to see what happened, not prevent what might happen. One of the things I find fascinating, even within the gun shop Renegade River, is that when it comes to shotguns and concealed carry type pistols, probably 40% of the purchases are being made by women, but probably approaching 90% of the decisions to purchase are being made by women for that same rationale. And so the dialogue seems to go along the path of a wife or significant other female saying, I think that we need to get a home defense firearm, or we need to attend a concealed carry class. I see that every day at the shop.
We get a number of people that feel that way. Actually, you're only, in your mind you might think you're safe, but it's always been kind of a long-standing thing that if you carry a gun, whether you have a concealed carry permit, that you're paranoid, or and paranoia is really the unreasonable fear that people are after you. Just about everybody has homeowners insurance and fire insurance, and going back in my family on both sides, as far back as I can remember, nobody's ever had their house burned down, but I still have fire protection. I'm not really paranoid, I just have it there. I have a much better chance of being assaulted. So I also have a gun.
Right, absolutely. Tell me, you mentioned a minute ago about a beginner course. Does your academy offer multiple level of courses that a person could look into?
We do. We have a non-certificate beginner course. In other words, it's not, you don't get any kind of certification for it. You just come in. We have 3 instructors that are there that basically just teach you how to safely handle your gun. There's 3 main rules of gun safety that we kind of indoctrinate you into. So your first job is not to shoot yourself or somebody else inadvertently. And then we get into the sighting and the proper sighting techniques, and just shoot some fun targets and things like that. Teach you how the gun actually operates, what lasers are, how different ammunitions are available, how you might go about cleaning your gun and caring for it. And it's just kind of a fun 4-hour class.
And so that's the 4-hour, and then you've got the 8-hour that will get you the CPL certificate, correct?
Yes, that's right.
Okay. Now, is there an advanced class?
There is an advanced class, and the advanced class basically now is a non-certificate class also, because there was some legislation available, as you know, last year the governor didn't sign, that was going to require personal protection outside the home to take advantage of this. That didn't go through. But we have a number of students that have an interest in going further in their shooting abilities. So we have an advanced class. It's about a 5-hour class. Again, there's 2 to 3 instructors there. And in this class, we've put it together ourselves, basically, and it gives you some defensive tips, some combat shooting tips. We have a little bit of competition, not a great deal, but you know how to take up a defensive position, clearing your gun if you should experience a malfunction or a jam, some of the basics, and then just drawing from a holster and being prepared to defend yourself better.
So drawing and crouching and drawing and fire a couple steps, fire a couple steps, those kind of...
Yeah, we have a number of drills that we use, and you know, people carry their guns in all different positions, but you know, from the pocket. And in this particular class, we don't use 22s for the most part. We use your regular carry gun, a center fire. We have a strong side hip holster that you use. If you draw out of your pocket, for example, you can use that. It's not a quick draw thing. It's just how to safely get your gun out without shooting yourself.
That's a pretty important basic. I've been trying to cut back myself. Now, you've been, aside from your experience with the Copper Creek Shooting Academy, you've done other kind of training?
I have.
What kind of what?
I have. I'm a master class sporting class shooter.
Okay.
I've done bowling pin leagues, a little competitive pistol shooting. I still compete with the shotgun. I also do long-range rifle shooting. I mean, I've hunted all over the world and have for years and years and years. I probably spend, 150 days a year hunting, shooting.
What's your favorite?
Probably the next one, I would say, would be my favorite. Yeah.
Whatever it is going to be it.
Yeah, I hunt in South America, and Bolivia is probably my favorite destination.
No kidding.
Yeah.
What makes it so great?
It's wild. It's kind of wild and untamed.
So you're talking about socially or nature?
Both, actually. Yeah. Actually, their government right now isn't real friendly to the United States, but they were, with Hugo Chavez, and
sure.
This is Evo Morales is the president. But the population, we're in Santa Cruz, and that's a real cosmopolitan city and beautiful city. But right outside of the city, you've got jungle, and it's pretty nice down there. Real wild. See a lot of different jaguars and.
What do you hunt for?
We hunt for doves, pigeons, and ducks. Pato.
This seems like a long ways to go for something you can get right here in West Michigan.
Well, remember in West Michigan, we're not allowed to shoot doves anymore.
Oh, you got me there.
But yeah, you can shoot 3,000-4,000 doves in a day if you want to. So it's a lot. Yeah.
So they either have nothing that's an environmental safeguard, or they've got so many they don't care.
They're a real pest. They'll come down. They have a lot of Mennonite population there, and they'll plant 40 acres of sunflowers, which they'll eat in an hour. So these people are just completely out of luck after the doves eat, a whole descend on a field. So we probably, all the hunters down there together probably don't kill 0.5% of the population.
Wow. Okay, so there's just a ton of it.
Plus, the people are hungry, so they eat all the doves immediately.
That's serious.
Yeah. There's no refrigeration, in most of the rural areas, so they cook them in soups and things like that. But they cook the whole dove, and that's where they utilize it the most.
When you say the whole dove, they obviously they're feathering them.
Yes, they take. Although there's good fiber in feathers, I'm told. I'm kidding, but anyway.
I'd rather write with you turn it into a pen or something.
You can. You could be a founding father of Bolivia.
There you go. That sounds like they need one.
They need one bad. They do. They need one badly.
All right. Well, back in Michigan, tell me this. We're looking at CPL, but before we go to break here in just a few minutes. But back at tell me something. If I'm new to firearms and I'm getting ready to start carrying after I go through your courses, what do you typically recommend for someone new to purchase for a side firearm?
The most popular concealed carry firearm in the United States is the Ruger LCP, which I know you're familiar with and you have in your store often. It really depends. The individual's hands, and if they're familiar with shooting, if they haven't shot before. Some people like revolvers for the dependability factor. Some people like autos. So probably autos are about 75% of it, and 25% revolver.
It would seem like, of course, I've never done any training for anybody like you have, but it would seem like the folks that are new to firearms, in my view, should have started with a revolver, but I'm probably being old school.
Well, the revolver's an excellent place to start and even finish.
Yeah.
For one thing, let's face it, they're a lot more romantic than an auto,
Yeah.
and they do work. When you pull the trigger, they're probably going to go off.
I've had a lot of old fellows walk down my display glass, and they walk past show me the real gun. And so I think that's still part of maybe the American culture more than anything else.
There's a misconception about which is faster and everything. Revolvers, they actually can shoot faster than the semi-auto in the right hands. Of course, it takes a lot of training, but I think the record right now is like 3/5 of a second in a playing card with 5 shots, and that's held by an auto. I mean, a revolver, excuse me.
It would seem like the propensity to have a misfire or jam would be lower with a revolver.
Well, it's probably the same as far as the misfire, but then you just pull the trigger again and you get another cylinder. So, I mean, you've got a whole cylinder full of shells, so you're going to get another chamber. So you've got 5 or 6 chances to have one of them go off, which should be comforting.
So, now, when we come back from break, we're going to talk about ammo, and since most of the ammo we're all seeing is really old stuff, maybe that's something we should kick around. Okay, we're going to be back in just a few moments, everybody, and we'll see you then.
Be a survivor, not a statistic. Renegade River in Spring Lake has new and used handguns, hunting guns, sporting goods, and survival gear. Protect your rights and your freedom. Ask about their CPL classes. Renegade River, next to the police station at downtown Spring Lake.
You can't listen to 1,500 live radio stations on a potato. You can't create your own custom playlist or listen to the Perfect 4 feature on a potato. But you can on iHeartRadio, which is why iHeartRadio is better than a potato. Unless you want French fries. Download the free iHeartRadio app at iHeartRadio.com. iHeartRadio is now available on Roku.
If you forgot to back up your computer files this week, you're not alone. With so many different things to do, it's easy to forget to back up, but so important to do. And that's why I have Carbonite. Carbonite backs up your computer files to the cloud for you automatically. Unlimited backup space for your PC or Mac is just $59 a year. Start your free trial today at Carbonite.com. No credit card required. Offer code Kim. Get 2 free months with purchase. Carbonite.com. Offer code Kim.
Here's a surprising summertime fact from new Allegra Anti-Itch Cream. We all know that irritants like bug bites and poison ivy can make you itch. But what you might not know is how. Actually, it's the histamines your body creates in reaction to these irritants that make you miserable. But now that scratch has met its match. New Allegra Anti-Itch Cream. Its maximum strength itch medicine blocks your itch-causing histamines fast for long-lasting relief. New Allegra Anti-Itch Cream. The relief you've been itching for. Use as directed.
Hi, everyone. Jay Farner here with Quicken Loans. Today's mortgage rates are just about the lowest that we've ever experienced. But because these super low rates fluctuate, Quicken Loans has a great new way for you to find out what the current mortgage rate is for a 30-year fixed-rate mortgage right this instant. Just pick up your mobile phone and text the word RATES to AMAZE. Text RATES to 26293 to see the latest mortgage rate on a 30-year fixed-rate mortgage. Again, simply text RATES to AMAZE. That's RATES to 26293. At Quicken Loans, we always provide you with the latest technology designed to give you an amazing mortgage experience. Maybe that's why for 3 years in a row now, J.D. Power & Associates has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation in customer satisfaction for primary mortgage origination. Again, text RATES to AMAZE 26293 and discover for yourself why Quicken Loans is engineered to amaze.
Standard text messaging rates apply. For J.D. Power & Associates award information, visit jdpower.com. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
Listen up, ladies. Right now, Bare Minerals is inviting you to participate in a special nationwide giveaway of the mineral makeup everyone's talking about. That's right. We want to let every woman try Bare Minerals' revolutionary foundation and fall in love with their skin again. Just call 1-800-605-9867 to find out how. This is an exclusive radio-only offer you don't want to miss. You've probably heard about Bare Minerals Foundation. It was quoted in Glamour magazine as a magic eraser. Allure magazine, InStyle, and Elle magazines and leaders in beauty continue to rave about how Bare Minerals Foundation is naturally radiant and good for your skin. Now you can participate in our nationwide giveaway and see for yourself. Bare Minerals, makeup so pure you can sleep in it. Experience the foundation that started the makeup revolution. Participate in a special opportunity to try Bare Minerals foundation risk-free, and we'll also send you a free gift set. Just call 1-800-605-9867 now. Hurry, you don't want to miss this exclusive radio offer. 1-800-605-9867.
Renegade River in Spring Lake wants to buy your used handguns and hunting guns. Renegade River, your hunting, camping, and survival store. Stop in and check out their new and used firearms, sporting goods, Army and Navy supplies, and survival gear. Downtown Spring Lake, next to the police station.
The Talk of Muskegon. News Talk 1090, WKBZ.
Well, welcome back. You're listening to the Renegade River Show, and my name is Mike Hewitt. And today in the studio with us is Mike Bernethy of the Copper Creek Shooting Academy. Welcome back, Mike.
Thanks. I'm really glad to be here, Mike.
I'm glad to have you. Tell me a little bit. Let's kind of take the conversation off in a different direction, if we can, Mike. Tell me your perception or your thoughts on the gun-free zones here in Michigan.
There's been a lot of publicity about that lately, and I just talked to a teacher that was actually at our last class doing a CPL, and she was against teachers carrying guns in school or anybody carrying guns in school, and she wanted to remain a gun-free zone. And I asked her if she thought overall that this was successful. And she said, well, I know what you're going to say, Virginia Tech and Columbine. I said, no, I'm just asking you, overall, do you think that gun-free zones have been a success? And she said, well, yes, absolutely. And I said, why don't we take it a step further, and we'll just go back to airports being that way. We'll put no terrorist signs, no guns, no bombs, and everybody just boards the plane. We don't have any more traffic tie-ups, no more log jams at the security. It's just the honor system. And she said, well, we can't possibly do. And I said, well, it's good enough for our kids, right? The honor system is, that's basically what we're on. Well, so again, she was worried too, well, the qualification. Teachers not necessarily qualified. Well, you get some qualification, it's up to them to go a little further, but it's much easier to maintain a defensive position in the school by closing the door. The bad guy has to walk in the door. You don't go out looking for him. That's the job of the police or trained personnel, but you can easily take up a defensive position, protect your children, and have a really high percentage of success rate against somebody coming in. Our bus drivers that we have that transport millions of students across the country every day, if there's a crash or some kids get killed, it's national news. You never see it, very rarely. And these women that are stay-at-home moms, a lot of them driving, which make up the bulk of bus drivers, do an excellent job. They have some training, but they're not NASCAR champions. They're not going to win a Grand Prix, but they're very, very qualified to do what they do, and it's through just a minimal amount of training.
It really is about training, in my view, and there was a video clip that was bouncing around the internet here about a month or so ago, and it shows a guy walking into looked like a convenience store or a party store, and he's this is a stick up, the classic. He's got a gun out and all of that, and the shopkeeper behind the counter, he cowers down a little bit, but then he points up over his head to a gun-free zone sign. And, of course, the bad guy goes, oh, darn it, and he shuffles out the door. And that's the kind of rationale that we're using when we're saying gun-free zone, at least in my book. But I got to tell you, the fact that we can quote founding fathers on all of them, by the way, both sides of the aisle in the founding fathers. When I say both sides of the aisle, then those founding fathers that were really promoting a strong central government, those founding fathers that were more in keeping with Jeffersonianism, all of them across the board had to offer endless quotes on why firearms were necessary in America. And what I get from that, aside from the privilege of being able to see what their rationale was, I also get the subliminal, which is the fact that they were having the same argument then as we're having now. That was the reason that they had to offer all of those quotes and had to offer all of that argument, because this debate's been going on forever. And we can point to Europe and say, really, truly, is it that successful? Last week here we had a lady that grew up and was educated in the Soviet Union, Russia. And one of the topics that her and I talked about was gun control in Soviet Union. And she said, yes, a person could have a gun, but they had to apply for it. Not a handgun, by the way, just a hunting rifle. Had to apply for the rifle, had to apply for the ammunition. I thought, wait, I'm starting to recognize this. This is the same position that people in our country are wanting for us right now. Then when I look back to the Soviet Union, Russia, and say, how did it work out for them? The answer is that their murder rate without handguns, with an entire nation being essentially a gun-free zone, it was almost 5 times higher than that of the United States. And I've been in arguments on Facebook and with people in general on this topic. And, oh, Mike, you're handpicking your percentages. No, I'm not. Give me a percentage. Give me some example in the world where this isn't true. And I'm debating primarily with people that normally love to use Europe as an example. So they'll talk about, okay, look at the handgun homicide rate in Europe, but there aren't any. Okay, but let's look at the homicide rate in general, because they're using baseball bats and knives and fire, by the way. In the 20th century, fire killed more people than any other weapon of destruction in terms of domestic violence. So,
well, they recently did MARGO, which is Michigan Coalition of Responsible Gun Owners.org, just did a extensive study using all the statistics available in Michigan from 2008. And if the rest of the general populace was as law-abiding as our concealed carry holders, all crime across the board would be reduced by 90%. The people that are getting concealed carry permits are responsible citizens. Someday they're going to save you, your sister, your neighbor, your brother, or possibly themselves. So the more responsible people you have that are armed, the less crime you're going to have, and the less these predators will be able to prey on us.
So when I look at the world and say, where can I find an example, I try to back away from the firearms debate for a minute, and I get on Google and I ask, where is the freest country? What's the freest country in the world? Happens to be, according to every answer I could find, New Zealand. So, okay, then I back away from that answer. Now, that's the freest, the most Jeffersonian country in the world. Not us, by the way, it's them. And then I look at what's their homicide rate, and it's 0.09% per 100,000. It's significantly lower than the United States, hugely lower than what's left of the Soviet Union or Russia in general, etc. The math just doesn't bear it out. But to the original point in schools, I know everyone's heard this argument over and over again, but we protect everything that's important to us in America with a firearm, except for our children, and that just blows my mind.
Well, we do protect our children with firearms because once you have a problem and people don't want guns in schools, guns and children don't mix. As soon as you have a problem, you call somebody with a gun to protect you. You call the police, and of course they respond, but the damage is done. So eventually you do call somebody with a gun to protect you, whether you're in favor of guns or not.
Yeah, but that goes to the original point. You call in the folks that bring a gun and a camera to take pictures of what the bad guys have already done. I can't imagine cowering in a corner with 25 kids and no way to defend them.
No, it would be, I have a grandson. I know that, it looks like that would be impossible, but I got married when I was 3. It was a prearranged marriage, so.
You must have saw the shock on my face.
I did. It was, I didn't want you to pass out. But I would much rather risk my grandson being caught in a crossfire than hiding behind a school desk and being summarily executed. We've never lost a student to crossfiring because nobody's ever fired back at the bad guy. And as soon as you fire the first shot, they kill themselves, as a rule, because they don't want to go in and be humiliated and embarrassed and possibly face death.
I think that's true, but I got to tell you, I think it's a little bit of preventative medicine here, because the bad guys purposely are going to areas that they know are undefended. And if all of a sudden they become aware that those areas are defended, I don't think they're going to go there.
Well, this is certainly true in Aurora. In Aurora, there was a much closer, like a quarter-mile away movie theater that he could have gone to for the premiere Batman when it played in 8 different theaters that night, the closest being a quarter mile, the largest being less than 2 miles from his house. And he chose the only gun-free zone one to go in and do his killing. So, obviously, if you've got 10 or 12 people in that theater with with handguns, he would have not killed as many people, and probably we wouldn't be worrying about trying him right now.
No question about it. Tell me your thoughts on open carry. Michigan is an open carry state by the Constitution. What's your feeling on that?
I'm not a big pro open carry guy, simply because so many people in Michigan really are just totally unfamiliar with it. If you're out west, a lot of people open carry. If you're in Arizona in certain parts, and Wyoming and Utah, people open carry. It's not the norm in Michigan. It frightens some people. It also takes away any advantage you have of having the concealment, which surprise is a big advantage. For the person using the surprise, not the surprisee.
It always, whenever I get on the topic of open carry, I remember that old, I don't know if it was 60s song, the 152nd fastest gun in the West looking for 151. My concern with open carry is I think there is a shock value, but I don't know if there isn't. It's almost like the bully on out on the playground saying, "Take me on," and I don't know that's a good path for us either. Now, having said that, I do know some folks that open carry. One of them is a professional here in the Muskegon community, and it's one of the things he shared with me on this topic of how he's perceived when he open carries. First off, by the way, he looks like a detective. Whenever he's not, but whenever you see him, you think he's a detective, so you just walk on. But he says when he open carries in Muskegon County, nobody pays attention to him at all. It's like he doesn't have a gun on his belt. When he open carries in Ottawa County, everyone turns around and stares at him. And I don't know what to attribute that phenomena to, other than to say that is an interesting phenomenon.
It is. There's I just was reading this morning about a guy that open carried in Grand Rapids in one of the schools. He came in to bring his daughter homework or something, and he was checked into the office, and they had actually a deputy sheriff, a woman that was a deputy sheriff in there, and she said, "Look, I know that, I can't stop you, and you know that you have a legal right to do that, but you're going to terrify the children, and they're going to stampede." And of course, he went in there, and a lot of the children that knew him said, "Oh, hi, Mr. So-and-so," and he brought his daughter the homework, and none of the children were upset by it, but,
Okay, I want to make sure I understand the situation you just painted for us. So there's a father of a school child. He goes to school here in West Michigan, is it?
Yeah, in Grand Rapids.
Okay. So he goes to the Grand Rapids
and
school.
purposely carries,
and he's
open carry.
Open carrying.
Which you can do with a concealed carry permit. It's just a crazy loophole thing, and
Yep.
And the governor could have solved all this had he signed this other legislation last year, but he left this in. So hopefully they'll get it corrected this year. But yeah, he did that. I'm not obviously in favor of that, but he has the right to do it, and he did. And of course the children weren't upset, and whether they assume he's a police officer or just an adult, I don't know.
Yeah, I think that, and we could debate whether this is unfortunate or not, but I don't think the children, at least from junior high up, are in most cases, as naive as maybe we wish that they were sometimes. But certainly they're inundated with those kind of images on TV. And I find the irony to it, I know this has been talked about before, but everyone in Hollywood, and I shouldn't say everyone, but a fair number or percentage of the people in Hollywood that are running around being very anti-firearm have made themselves multimillionaires by making movies on the most aggressive side of firearms they can possibly depict. And I just...
Well, Rosie O'Donnell's a prime example of, somebody with their famous television show, and she basically chastised Tom Selleck on her show for being an NRA member, and then the next day her bodyguard got her 2 children kicked out of school because his firearm was showing. And when asked about this by a news media person, she said, "Well, normal people don't need a gun, but I'm a famous movie star, and people are really after me."
That's kind of what some senators said in Washington, D.C., that they wanted to pass this sweeping infringement on our Second Amendment, but not on their Second Amendment, just on our Second Amendment. And cited the same thing. I'm a senator, and I need this. You don't need it because you're just Joe Blow.
Yeah, I mean, that's really kind of, if you really want to talk about firearms, your right to carry them, your right to own them, your right to protect yourself, you have logic and truth on your side, with logic being the first one. The only argument you can make on the other side is emotional. So without the emotional value, and of course these senators and these representatives would like to have them be the only ones with guns. Police officers, for the most part, would rather they be the only people with guns. That's not possible, of course, but that's the way in a perfect world, they would like it. So when you have this idea that concealed carry might be in schools, might be in some of these gun-free zones, the opposition is always the same. The Prosecutors Association, oh no, there'll be blood in the streets. It's the same thing they said when we passed the CPL law. There'll be blood in the streets. The news media, all the printed media for the Grand Rapids Press, the Muskegon, they all, oh no, we can't have that. But it never happened. They never apologized.
Never does. Hold that thought. We're going to go to a break, folks. We'll be right back.
Renegade River in Spring Lake wants to buy your used handguns and hunting guns. Renegade River, your hunting, camping, and survival store. Stop in and check out their new and used firearms, sporting goods, Army and Navy supplies, and survival gear. Downtown Spring Lake, next to the police station.
Countryside Greenhouse of Allendale, now located on Lake Michigan Drive, just 3 miles west of Allendale, celebrating the opening of their brand new facility with unbeatable grand opening special pricing throughout the entire greenhouse. Countryside is offering acres of beautiful plants at fantastic pricing with a huge selection of blooming gallon perennials starting at just $3.99. That's right, beautiful gallon perennials from only $3.99. Come and experience the new Countryside Greenhouse of Allendale, still committed to the highest quality at the lowest price.
When your entire team can get together, it's amazing what can get accomplished. Projects that take weeks, decisions that take days, all are done right then and there. But gathering everyone together from different locations can be time-consuming, expensive, and often just plain impossible. That's why I use GoToMeeting with HD Faces. It makes it easy for your entire team to get together online, whenever you need to, no matter how far away people are. With GoToMeeting, you share the same screen so you stay on the same page. And the built-in HD video conferencing makes your online meetings just like being in the same room. Plus, it's simple to launch or join a meeting from anywhere using your computer, smartphone, or tablet. Even present from your iPad. I love the ease and convenience of GoToMeeting and the benefits of being able to see each other while in different locations, sharing the same screen. Try GoToMeeting free for 30 days. Don't wait. For this special offer, visit GoToMeeting.com, click the Try It Free button, and use promo code KIM. That's GoToMeeting.com, Try It Free button, and remember, use the promo code KIM.
Are you over the age of 25 and need to lose up to 30 pounds or more? If so, the next 60 seconds are crucial to your well-being. Because Sensa is sending 30-day free trials to anyone looking to lose weight simply through portion control, without calorie counting, meal plans, or traditional dieting. To experience effective weight loss results, you must be over 25 and want to lose up to 30 pounds or more. Call 1-800-951-1420 for your free 30-day trial. In a 6-month study, one of the largest of its kind ever conducted, participants lost an average of 30 pounds using Sensa. This weight loss breakthrough does not require added exercise or a change in your lifestyle. But act now. Due to overwhelming demand, there is a strict limit of 1 per household. Again, if you are over 25 and need to lose up to 30 pounds or more, it is crucial that you write down this number for your free 30-day trial of Sensa. Call 1-800-951-1420. That's 1-800-951-1420.
Fox News Radio, I'm Karen McHugh. Congressional hearings this week will attempt to get to the bottom of the September 11th attack in Benghazi. House Oversight Committee Chair Darrell Issa says everyone but the administration seemed to know it was a terrorist attack.
The CIA knew it was a terrorist attack. The Deputy Chief of Mission, Gregory Hicks, knew it was a terrorist attack. The ambassador, before he died, one of the last words he ever said is, "We're under attack."
The GOP congressman was on CBS's Face the Nation, but Democrat Stephen Lynch says the Libyans shoulder much of the blame.
The host country forces that were committed to protecting the consulate there in Benghazi walked off the job, basically.
He was on Fox News Sunday. The hearing starts Wednesday. Firefighters in the mountains outside of L.A. say they've gained the upper hand over a wildfire that's covered 44 square miles. Officials say it's now 60% contained. Fox News, we report, you decide.
Here's the official News Talk 1090 WKBZ forecast. Mostly cloudy today with a high around 75. Southeast winds 5 to 10. Some clouds tonight, a low of 48 with east winds at 5 to 10. It'll be mostly sunny tomorrow, a high of 74 expected. Northeast winds 5 to 10. Then times of sun and clouds for Tuesday with a high in the low 70s and still partly cloudy skies expected on Wednesday. Keeping you informed, this is News Talk 1090 WKBZ, the talk of Muskegon.
Be a survivor, not a statistic. Renegade River and Spring Lake has new and used handguns, hunting guns, sporting goods, and survival gear. Protect your rights and your freedom. Ask about their CPL classes. Renegade River, next to the police station in downtown Spring Lake.
I got to pause because I like the music. Welcome back. You're listening to the Renegade River Show, and my name is Mike Hewitt, and I am joined in the studio today with Mike Bernethy of the Copper Creek Shooting Academy. Welcome back, Mike.
Thanks. I'm glad to be here.
Tried to catch him off guard there, but he's
You
right
did.
on it. Hey, before we move on, I got a couple more topics that I want to kick around, but before we do that, I wanted to talk a little bit about, just for a brief moment, here several weeks ago, I attended the gun violence, a discussion on gun violence, it was called, in Grand Haven. It was put on by the American Bar Association, and inevitably it didn't turn into the anti-gun forum that I frankly I believe its organizers tried to cause it to be. But there was so much word within the Tea Party from this show and other places that the balance turned out to be fairly well. But one of the things I took away from that is something that the prosecutor of Ottawa County said, Ron France. He was talking about the fact that, and it was pretty candid about it, I applaud him. He was reciting his own position had been to be opposed to the concealed carry legislation when it was first advanced and was trying to get passed. He envisioned a lot of mayhem and people with, road rage shooting each other, and he had all kinds of, and he articulated that fact at that meeting that night. But to his credit, he also went to say, but I've been wrong, because that's not come to pass. And I wish the fact that those folks that were in a position to see the statistics the way that Prosecutor France has would be candid as he was and let the people know that what they feared the most, what some people who are not familiar with still fear, could see that's just hasn't been borne out to be a truthful problem.
Well, here's the problem. I applaud him, too, for coming forward and saying that. The problem is he's still against the level 2 concealed carry, where people with additional training, the prosecutors were all against that because they claimed the same thing. Oh, there'll be blood in the streets again. We're going to have shootings in daycares. The truth of the matter is, it all comes down to who do you trust. The incidence of concealed carry holders in Florida and Texas who have committed felonies while in possession of their firearm is a minute percentage, like 0.023 or something, just way down there, where off-duty police officers are 0.5.
Right.
Dramatically more. And those aren't slanted statistics because while there's thousands of police officers in Florida and Texas, there's millions of concealed carry holders. What it comes down to is trust. Here in Michigan, we don't trust people in hospitals. We don't trust our nurses and our doctors. I mean, let's face it. You can't trust a neurosurgeon with a .22. He's going to go out and shoot people. He wants to get, the same with nurses. You don't know what the nurse is putting in your IV, but you can't trust her with a handgun. And yet these people work in our emergency rooms, and where do bad guys go when they get shot and stabbed and beat? But our emergency rooms. In turn, they also have their bad friends waiting for them, and then we make our doctors and our nurses walk out in the parking lot at 3 o'clock in the morning by themselves, and a lot of these hospitals aren't in the best areas, and there's no good area if you happen to be the victim.
One of Renegade River's customers is a nurse, and in fact, I think her husband's a law enforcement officer out of Grand Rapids, but she is a nurse in Grand Rapids at one of the larger hospitals, and had a very small pocket knife that had a typical belt clip on it, and she had this pocket knife belt clipped on her purse. It wasn't, in her mind, it was not a weapon. It wasn't it wasn't defense. It was a little dinky pocket knife clipped on her purse. Letter opener, just that kind of thing. It was a utilitarian tool in her mind. It caused her some significant backlash because one of her coworkers, of course, filed a complaint that she was carrying this knife as a weapon. And my point in bringing that up is that I want to slowly here in our last segment work us towards education. The one thing that I think really lacks now, and I think we can point to it in the statistics nationally, to say, at some point back in the 50s and 60s, in our high schools, almost all high schools had a rifle club or a rifle class as part of their curriculum. And the average American had a pretty solid operating knowledge of your average firearm. And it's a fascinating thing, because the further we've gotten away from that till now it's non-existent. Now a pocket knife that's 2 inches long on a purse is considered a dangerous weapon. Back then, there were people, an example, there are people that come into Renegade River all the time. They're older folks, and they laugh at what we're debating now in the public square, because they remember a time when they were on a school bus in Spring Lake, Michigan, with 8 or 9 fellows on that same bus, and all of them having firearms, with the intention of getting to school, taking their firearms to the principal's class or to the principal's office, leaving the firearms in there for the day, and at the end of the day, not riding the bus home, but rather going out on some hunting excursion. And so we've come from the point now where a pocket knife is a lethal weapon to be complained about, and people get employment demerits. We've arrived at that from a point when what I'm describing these fellows talk about as how their childhood was, all of the incidences, or a majority of the incidences of gun violence, have been the result of a lack of understanding and education, in my view. The further we get away from that, the more troublesome it becomes.
I couldn't agree more. And there's nothing more confusing, it starts with education for everybody. And people just fear education. Steve Irwin did wonders for poisonous snakes and things to make people think like, wow, I don't necessarily want to kill everyone I see. He made crocodiles lovable. People used to hate crocodiles, Jaws, kind of
I still don't want a
demonized
wholesome
shark.
one.
So guns are the same way, but you have Hollywood's against guns, the news media is against guns.
No, wait a minute though, Mike. How can Hollywood be against guns when almost every time I turn on the channel, there's some anti-gun celebrity making themselves a multimillionaire by shooting people with guns in movies?
Well, because they're against guns for you.
I see.
They're not against guns for their own purposes to gain money. But
it's the same as they are proponents of socialism. They want everyone to share the wealth except for not their wealth.
Right.
It's kind of the same thing.
It's the Colorado syndrome when people move to Aspen. Once they get in there, somebody else wants to move in and build a house, and they say, oh, we don't want these outsiders coming in here, close the door behind you kind of thing. But in Hollywood, as far as education goes, they spend, umpteen $1 million making sure that an ER movie is realistic. They get a trauma surgeon in there and they say, hey, this guy's got his arm cut off. What would we give him? I'd give him 100 cc's, and everything is realistic. But with guns, they don't even, they just have somebody that's writing for Disney come in and don't pay attention to it. They need, they got revolvers shooting 20, 30 shots without reloading. They, you never have to reload a semi-automatic, and, they can hip shoot blow up an airplane, going, it's just crazy stuff. Yeah. And
they shoot the guy with a 38 and it blows him backwards 10 feet.
Oh yeah.
No, stop it.
Quentin Tarantino, the whole deal.
Yeah.
But if you start with just your basic education, a gun won't get off the counter and shoot you. You have to actually pull the trigger. There's no accidental gun shootings. These are all instances of negligence. And if children start to learn a healthy respect for it, if you want to hide the lighters and hide the matches in your house so these kids can't get a hold of a match until they're 21 years old, that's up to you. But they're going to see them other places. So just like everybody in America should know how to drive a stick, even if you don't plan on buying a Maserati or something, you should still know how to drive one. And you should still know how to safely put a firearm away, unload it, or use it. And it should be a mandatory thing.
I've said a few times on this show now, when you look at the technology that we're employing in firearms, the reality of it is that most of it's in excess of 100 years old. Some of it's 150 years old, and some of it still is 1,000 years old. So you got to say, okay, if we're truly having the problem that they want us to believe we're having, it's not possible to look at it in the span of time and say that it's not a firearms problem, it's a cultural problem. And if we're having a cultural problem, to me, I look at one of the components of the Obamacare, or Marxist care as I affectionately call it, one of the components of it says that, in fact, this part's already been acted. Was it 26 years old, a person can stay at their mother and father's home and stay on the parents' insurance? And I shake my head at that. I'm thinking 26 years old, no kidding, because it wasn't that far ago in America's past when a 26-year-old could be the colonel in an army in command of legions of people. And now this person needs to stay on mommy and daddy's insurance. I have a tough time getting my head around exactly what we're doing to our adolescents in our culture by making the entitlement, by de-educating them, by making them absolutely either dependent and actually not even the parents, dependent on the state is what we're making our next generation. To me, that scares the heck out of me.
Somehow the people in charge are very fond of European ideals and not keeping score at a soccer game and, all that sort of thing. You're going to have that. Fundamentally, with firearms, there are a certain number of people that, I don't know what it is. I just don't like them. I don't like guns. I don't, it's, some people say, I don't like cats or I don't like caterpillars, whatever the case may be. But actually, it's like a car. It's like a tool. You don't just get in and start driving with no experience because you're going to crash. And it's the same thing with guns. You need a little bit of training. We have children that come out to Copper Creek all the time with their parents, watch the entire class. We have kids out there that on certain days that can come out and shoot, and they learn the fundamentals and safety. And I think that the whole community is a better place for it because you have some responsible kids. Sooner or later, children are going to stumble upon a gun at somebody's house, in the garage, in the attic. One of their friends might pick one up. And instead of pointing it, you're going to have at least one child there that knows how to safely respond to it.
I think it's important to get them acclimated. I've got 4 daughters, and all 4 of them are familiar. But what happens is that when you make them so that they're fearsome, they become novel. And the last thing you want is a firearm to become novel. It's got to be viewed as a tool that you respect, in my view, and you're only going to know how to use it if you practice and train with it.
Absolutely. The view is that most people get their knowledge of and information about firearms, the vast majority of people, from watching TV. So they think they can just pick up a gun, shoot it, everything's going to be okay. We don't really realize that, if you saw a helicopter sitting in the parking lot, you wouldn't want to just jump in and take it for a spin if you weren't really a pilot.
I would, but I'd be kind of afraid to.
I'd be a little nervous too. But, for some reason, guns, they just think, well, they're very, very simple. And a lot of people can't even get them to go off. Even the guys that are robbing the drugstores and stuff, when they try to shoot people, can't get the gun to go off. They push what they think is the safety, and the magazine falls out. And, we've offered Ronnie Manuel to send the gang members to Copper Creek. We'll teach them how to shoot. They'll kill more gang members and a net loss of gang members, and they won't get so many wounded innocent people. So, and Copper Creek would make some money. So I think it'd be a great deal, but Ron hasn't responded.
Speaking of Copper Creek making some money, how can a person sign up for CPL class with Copper Creek Shooting Academy?
You just go to ccwmish.com, or you can also call us. I'm trying to think. I think it's 855-229-6424. Operators will be standing by.
Did you say that was ccwmish.com?
I did. ccwmish.com.
Or
you can go in that very popular destination, Renegade River. They have all the pertinent information along with all your hiking and camping needs.
That's a very true statement, what he's saying. I'll tell you something else about Renegade River here before we run out of time. Renegade River is what you might remember from a time gone by, a piece of what it was in America that somehow seems to be different now. It's a small part of an America that, frankly, I believe that we need today so that we can once again feel a sense of community, a place to go where people have something in common with each other, an atmosphere of understanding, kinship, and comfort. It's the way shops were in a time gone by when there used to be shopkeepers. Big box stores are great. The inventory is bigger and better and all of those things, but frankly, Renegade River's prices are lower. And you're going to find that I might know your name, and if I don't, I'll remember it the second time you come in. Thank you very, very much for listening to the Renegade River Show, and I'll see you at the Renegade River Shop in Spring Lake, Michigan. Talk to you next Sunday.